Okay, so Peter, I'll just make a simple announcement to all. I mean, welcome everybody to the 100th BBG meeting. Our chairman is having a technical problem which will be sorted soon. Thanks for you being muted. We will start the session, and when Christie comes on, we will get him to say his welcome address. We have with us Paul Dryden, who is the Deputy Head of Mission at the British High Commission. Maybe invite Paul to say a few words, share with us his perspective. We haven't seen or heard from him since lockdown. So, Paul, would you like to come on? Thank you.
Sorry, thanks very much, BJ. And on behalf of the British Deputy High Commission, many congratulations on your 100th meeting. It's a phenomenal thing today. And we wish that the British Deputy High Commission to work closer with the BBG South for your next 100 meetings and beyond. I think it's something that we would like to say. I haven't prepared anything. I wasn't asked to prepare anything, but the early discussion was how is the British Deputy High Commission getting on? It's very clear since the beginning of March, the total lockdown, the first 2 months, we were involved with the repatriation of British nationals here in India, and for us specifically here in the South. And most of our work was towards that. In total, the British High Commission and Deputy High Commission, or all the missions, I should say, within the UK, in India, we managed to organise 17,000 British nationals going back to the UK, which was a phenomenal response. I think it was 66 flights in total, of which 3 or 4 were here in the South. It was 50% of the total FCO repatriations flights globally. So in one country, India, we managed to produce 55% of the repatriations, which was phenomenal. It also shows the close connections between India and the UK. So since about the end of May, we've slowly begun to
problem still you are
go back to work.
Right? Like we can see you visually, but we can't hear you. Okay.
Shall I continue?
So
right.
What I've done is you just tell Christie I started the meeting. All right. So when you are able to solve the audio problem, we will.
Shall I continue?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, sorry. So since about the end of May, we're beginning to go back to work. Not quite business as usual, but what we have been finding is that trade is beginning to pick up. And as I was mentioning to Peter earlier on, there have been certain sectors that have done very well during this pandemic, mainly healthcare, digital and technology, and we're seeing a growing interest from Tamil Nadu and Pan-India for green renewables. As you are aware, the renewables sector, it was given the must continue sign during the pandemic, and most companies that we've been dealing with in the renewables energy have pretty much got a full complement of staff working for them. And so there's a big push for renewables here in Tamil Nadu, and much interest from the UK, which is great. So that continues. We've had a number of British companies approach us for help, mainly during the lockdowns. No surprises. The companies like RBS, Barclays, HSBC, who have their back offices here in Chennai, and other British financials. And so we've been helping them, making sure that their business critical numbers are able to get into work. And I must say the Tamil Nadu government have been absolutely fantastic with any help that we've asked them to do. They couldn't have been any better. So we're very, very pleased. We're also getting a number of British companies interested in what's going on here in Tamil Nadu. There's been a bit of investment, which is great. Probably the number one question I'm going to be asked is, when is British Airways going to be up and running? I simply don't know yet. There are foreign companies, Lufthansa, Air France, and I think Qatar are flying out of southern airports. British Airways are continuing to fly in to Delhi and Mumbai in cargo only. And what I have been informed is that when they do resume, it is likely to be from Delhi and Mumbai first, and then they'll roll out throughout India. So I do not have a timing for BA to resume. And in fact, I don't have any timings for any international flights to resume from Chennai. So anybody flying to the UK has to go through Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi at the moment. But this is something that we're very, very keen to resolve. Air India are flying quite a lot of flights to the UK, and we think they are in breach of the air service agreement. And we are in continual discussion with the Indian government, and we hope that that will be resolved very shortly, so that British carriers, including Virgin, were able to at least have the same facilities as Air India. And you notice that I'm here. The reason why is because Oliver is in the UK at the moment. He was in the UK. He I think just finished his quarantine, and we're expecting him to return in the middle of August. And I'm probably going on leave. It'll be my first day on leave since the 2nd of January when he comes back. So I'm looking forward to my break. And I think that's it from me, except that we're very encouraged with the vaccine story at the moment coming out of the University of Oxford. For those who weren't on earlier, we're very encouraged by the news. It's not foolproof that this will be a complete success, but from what I know and what I've been informed is that so far so good. And if it is successful, they should be able to start producing vaccines in September, and then ramping them out as quickly as possible throughout the world, including India. There is, I think in Pune, there is a company there who's working with the Oxford University and AstraZeneca very, very closely. And so hopefully, once it's given the green light, then we will be able to get the vaccines out as quickly as possible and end this horror show. And hopefully, we will be able to meet possibly for our Christmas Christmas bash, and that hopefully is what's going to happen. But I was reminded yesterday that that COVID will be around for a substantially long time. It was mentioned in dispatches that there's been a vaccine for polio for years, yet there are still parts of the world that still has polio, and it's likely that COVID will be here for a long, long time until everybody is vaccinated or they find a cure for it in other ways. So I think I'll just leave it at that. And again, many congratulations on your 10th anniversary, not 10th anniversary, your 100th
meeting.
And I'm happy to take Q&A if you want, or leave that to the end. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We will leave Q&A to the end. I just want to remark that Paul has been in office for about a year now, I think, Paul.
It was it was a year yesterday, believe it or not.
All right, how about that? And if I recall, he was planning to lead a trade delegation to northern UK, Newcastle, Scotland, sometime at the end of this month. I think that was the plan originally. All got scuttled because of COVID-19. Am I correct?
Yes, it was actually in June. And we've actually been reaching out to the two cities, it was Newcastle and Dundee. And we're having virtual meetings, virtual tours, which we're setting up. And that seems to be the name of the game at the moment. And of course, BBG will be invited when we get that up and running. This will not, of course, replace the visit. The visit will go ahead in probably summer of 2021 or until it is safe to do so, but we're looking at summer of 2021. And one thing about this is that we've been given another year to book, so it will be bigger and better.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thanks for that. I'm next going to invite Prakash Chella to talk to us. Prakash will do it in a fairly informal way. It's more a business and industry update. For those who don't know Prakash, Prakash is into real estate. He's been the president of the real estate body called Creedai, both at the national and state level. Prakash is part of Chennai City Connect, the International Center, and a whole lot of other bodies. He's a frequent speaker and panelist in business and industry discussions. So may I now invite Prakash to talk to us. Prakash, thank you.
Thank you, Vijay, for inviting me. But I thought Peter was wanting to speak. And in fact, when we started off, he had given. Peter, would you like to go first or say a few words which you and Paul were exchanging with?
Hey, am I Christie's replacement? That's impossible.
I know you can't replace
no, it's fine. I mean, I think, you know, Vijay's covered the introduction side as one of the people that was at the very first meeting of the BBG back in 2011 at the British High Commission. It's interesting and intriguing to be here at the 100th meeting as well, in circumstances we couldn't have imagined back then. But it's been it's a growing organisation. We cover a whole range of sectors. Our relationship with the British High Commission is blooming once again, and that's really good, I think. And as Paul has said, and I'm back from the UK, I've been following stuff, and clearly there's a continued and growing interest in the relationship between the UK and India, and it's good to see that Tamil Nadu is also becoming a more, let's say, active part of that. And I think, you know, the next 100 meetings that we go through, it'll be interesting to see how far that develops. You know, the fact remains the opportunities for the UK and India have not diminished in any way, slowed down perhaps a little with COVID, but the opportunities are still there. And the same with Indian companies in the UK. The interest is clearly still there and forging a relationship, and long may it continue. And hopefully the BBG can do its little bit to help those things along. So that's it. And I've not, unlike Christie, I've not read any books to talk about.
That's okay, Peter.
It's okay.
Save that book review for another day. Thanks so much. I know we are going in a bit, unstructured way, but I'm just trying to stick to the program so that we make it.
Yeah.
So Prakash, thanks so much, Peter. Prakash, it's back to you.
Okay, thank you, Vijay, and thank you, Peter, for the brief. I mean, I know you can't be a replacement for Christie, but then still you did a fairly good job of taking us through. Well, I was given this topic of generally talking on the challenges, concerns, and going forward for the current economic situation where we are. I and Vijay, we did debate on the kind of format what we'll have and all that. So I didn't want to do a PPT and all that and bore you with all the statistics. Day in and day out, everyone is going in. What I see currently today is when you look at the challenges are the government, which is, you're fully aware that they came out with a stimulus package of something close to about $266 billion US. That is very nice in terms of a supply side. but they have not addressed any other demand revival side. That is where is the actual stimulus which is required. The challenge is the government of India should have come out with a revival of the demand. No steps have been taken much in that direction. So that is what is a major concern for us in the business side when we look at it. And then they have to also address a lot of the supply chain restorations have to happen. That has not happened. The supply chain has been completely, disrupted, and that is going to take a toll on the very economic situation of the country, because the kind of a lockdown which we went in, like, of course, the debate is still on whether the lockdown what we did in March 24th was premature or not, or there's so many dialogues going on, because when you look at it, when we went for the lockdown, we just had about 800 numbers or so across the country, and we hardly have few digits numbers in terms of the deaths. Now, when we did open up towards April ending, to some opened up in May and some opened up in June, the numbers had already crossed about close to 500,000. Now we have touched about close to about 1.2 million to something like 1.4 million. And as the rate is at which the doubling is happening, it is estimated that by August ending, we will touch something like about 3.5 million. Now, going forward, the major problem which is going to happen, I see from a challenge perspective, is how is the nation handling the, as a single country, as a single nation, how is it going to handle the pandemic? Because that's going to take a toll on the economy. Already it has taken a toll. As estimates go to the extent of about 60 to 70% of the economy have been hit. So when you look at what are the economic indicators which have gone in, let's not go down the GDP numbers, because GDP numbers don't make any sense. It talks about something like 2.6% is where we are hitting this year. Now those numbers, the Moody ratings, whatever you talk about, that till next year, that is to 21-22, the revival is not going to happen. And we are going to hit something close to about 4.5 or 5% towards. Hello? I think there's a lot of disturbance, Vijay. Can you hear me? Am I audible, Vijay? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, Prakash, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
You audible. Others, please mute.
Okay, so going forward, when you look at it from that angle, the kind of sectors which have been affected are the airlines and the hospitality, the tourism, and majority of the manufacturing side have been affected because of the issues pertaining to the skills. You don't have skilled workers going on currently. There's a lot of migration which has happened. Something close to about. Christie, can you hear me? No, okay. So something like about close to 120 million people are affected in terms of the migrant labor, which have just gone back to their home states. Now, hardly about 20 or 25% have come back into the various trades wherever they are, both in the manufacturing sector and the construction and real estate space. So when you look at it from the construction and real estate space, you have about close to 6 million to 7 million people, which are about 60 million to 70 million people are employed directly in the construction and real estate space. That is the largest employer today as a single industry of the unskilled labor. So they have not come back. Now look at the way that it's going to impact the economy, because the real estate industry, the housing industry and the commercial real estate development supports more than 250 industries by way of backward integration. When you look at it, all of them, if the production of these real estate companies doesn't happen, then you're going to face a problem when it comes to the question of these industries reviving. So there's going to have a major spell on the whole economy itself in terms of what's happening. Now, there are some positives which have happened in terms of certain of the sectors, like the health sector has improved in terms of the numbers which have gone up. Then the education is quite bullish. Then you have the e-commerce industry which has taken up, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, agrochemicals, and tractors. The agro industry is really doing exceedingly well today. Probably they never had a better time And even the auto industry in terms of the two-wheeler industry and all that is doing pretty good. In fact, they have reached the numbers, I believe, around 78 to 80% of pre-COVID numbers. And of course, the best of the whole story is the stock market. The stock market is like, in 4 months it bounced back. It had fallen on March first week, third week, it had gone down to 26,000 points, the BSE index. Now it has come back to around 38,000. To a large extent, the entire stock market revival has happened thanks to Jio. Now, Jio, each one may have their own thought process as to what is happening. The one company only is reviving, but the general sentiment has gone up because of the huge investment they brought in. The kind of amount which has brought in is something close to the economic package they have given. That kind of an investment which has come in there. Like you have all the big ticket investors who have come in, whether it is Facebook or whether it is the other companies which have pitched in into Jio, and the way the new technology which is coming in. So that has put in a big demand with the mobile industry going up, the furniture industry, the FMCG. So these are all the positives which have come into it. Now, how far that is going to sustain the economy is a big challenge. In the economic package which was given, you talked about MSME sector. MSME sectors are something like around 80% of the industry which is, it survives. Now, in the MSME sector, they have announced a revival package, and the entire revival package is based on a credit system in terms of enhancing the credit availability of credit to the MSME. Now, MSME sector as it is struggling for demand rather than the production side. So how is it going to handle in terms of trying to take additional loans for survival? Now, the Reserve Bank of India has come out with a very interesting package in terms of trying to give this restructuring of certain of the loans for the MSME sector. Then they brought down for the first time in the history of India that the credit ratio which has been given has been brought down. The CRR has been brought down to something like 2.75%. At one time it was 9%, and from there we saw iterations. It went up to it was somewhere around 5 to 5.5%, and from there now it is 2.72%. That's the cheapest in terms of availability. Now, still the banks are not willing to fund. Now, what has happened in the entire economic package? Responsibility has been shifted by the government of India towards the banking industry. The other day I had a very interesting chat with one senior person in the government. I mean, like he's more on the think tank of the government. I can't share the name on the open track. Balajee is aware with whom I was talking to. So the entire, I was really surprised when he says that it's sad that the chairman of a State Bank of India comes on record saying that people are not taking loans, but then on the one hand he says that, on the other hand they park huge something like about 800,000 crores in a reverse repo account of the Reserve Bank of India, and they're losing money of 2.25% interest while they don't want to lend at 5% for home loans and stuff like that. So there's a big credibility gap, or rather the question of trust deficit is there established by from the banker side towards the customers, because they feel that if they lend now, are they going to recover the loans, or it's going to become bad debts, and then tomorrow they are going to be saddled with that kind of a thing. So no economic activity in terms of can survive without funding from the banks on a liberal side. You must have seen about these restructuring and also about the EMIs in terms of moratorium. The moratorium has become a major challenge now because banks are not willing to let go their interest rates, and they are wanting to charge interest on interest, and the government is clueless. Government is not able to bring in pressure on them. Reserve Bank of India has in fact gone on record in the Supreme Court saying that we cannot bring in pressure on the banks. Banks are independent entities and companies which are operating on their own. So this is what is happening on the economic side in terms of the challenges. These are all the challenges. How are they going to meet it? There is no clue. Absolutely, government is clueless on it. Unfortunately, they are not even consulting several of the trade, even though you get in the papers that yes, we have discussed, we have done that and all, but if you look at one industry which they have not yet tackled is the airline industry. It is estimated that something like about 1.3 lakh crores will be the loss by 2022, the way the airline industry is going. The same goes for the hospitality industry. Both these sectors are literally going to get wiped out unless government steps in and comes out with a real stimulus package for these things. Now, these are the basic things in terms of I wanted to talk about. Then when it comes to the banking side, the NPAs have something like around 4% around 2015 on the total bank credit. That has already jumped to 10% in 2018. So that's the reluctance from the banking side to support the stimulus package of the government of India, that they feel that, okay, fine, you have given it to us, but we are not going to do anything further on this. Now on the real estate side, what is happening on the real estate, that's one major business which has been impacted. Now the latest statistics in the first 6 months statistics have come, very interesting statistics when you look at the housing market. Year on year, if you calculate it for when you compare it with the previous year, there's been a drop of about 54% of the number of units which are sold out, and even the launches have come down by about 46%. And office space also, there's been a drop of around 37%, and even the new completions are coming down by 27%. The only redeeming feature in the entire real estate space is there are 2-3 industries, 2-3 products, I would say, which have really come up is the warehousing product. So the warehousing is really going to go up. Warehousing is the demand, we are hardly reached anywhere compared to international standards. So that is one good thing which is happening on the warehousing side, because the e-commerce business is flourishing. When you look at all these malls and all that, they are in for a big loss. Today, the retail industry in terms of large retail formats are in trouble. The smaller retail formats are doing well, in fact. And in terms of the e-commerce is doing pretty well. In fact, they have around close to 27 to 30% more than what order book was there with them earlier. And this is what is a basic thing. Of course, the positive side is, even though the oil prices have come down and all that, we have forex reserves are there to the extent of about $500 billion, which is a really fantastic thing which has happened. So MSMEs are suffering from that side, while the rest of the stimulus package. Now I will go to the next item on the agenda is regarding next item is on what are the concerns. The concerns of India, if you look at it, there are some geopolitical concerns which are happening as to how India is going to pan out with. The major thing which you are reading day in and day out in the papers, which little of concern, is on the China policy. What's going to happen with China? Now in China, regarding the dealing with the way Chinese economy is impacting our businesses and all that, and there are a lot of thoughts saying that we should do something of putting tariffs on the Chinese imports. We have to control the way the tariffs of all import products, of which China is the current principal supplier. These are the three. Then the other thing is regarding the favorable treatment of non-Chinese products. Now these are the three alternatives which is available to the government of India. Now what is the policy shift which they are going to do? Now each one of it, if you look at it, it's going to hurt us more than anything else. So whether are we going to be very clear about it? Now the way the government of India is leaning in, they talked about this Atmanirbhar. I sometimes, what is that? Something like self-reliance thing.
Atmanirbhar.
Bharat. So idea is that government of India should encourage the Indian industries to come up with it. It's a fantastic thing. But then if you look back at history, 1991, this is our strategy, that we should encourage all the MSMEs and all that, and we should have a fantastic manufacturing base here, so which is going to take on head on the manufacture and the imports which are going to come in, and it has failed. Today, if you are really talking about import substitution, which is a gradual replacement of domestic production, which is a very tough proposition, because when you look at China, why I am insisting on China is because that's going to impact our businesses as to how we are going to do business at all, which is going to impact our import and export trade. Now, everybody is aware that what we are importing from China and what we are exporting to China is there's a deficit of around $60 billion. Now, when you look at 2013-14, very interesting in terms of exports, it was around 32.4 billion. Now, when it came to the, 7.6 billion. And from then to 2018-19, we exported only 8.9 billion. While the imports from China from 2013-14, it was around 32.4 billion. It has gone to 55.6 billion. Now, in the range of around 62 billion currently. So that is a huge gap. Now, how are we going to fill this up in terms of what is the kind of a thing which you are talking about? Now, if you are talking about having a policy which is linked with your foreign policy, because a lot of activity is happening at the borders. Now, if you're going to give a favorable treatment to the imports coming from non-Chinese sources through FTAs which are tying up, whether it is with the EU or with the UK and with the Australia and USA, etc., it's going to have a challenge on how we're going to replace the products which are going to come in. Today, to name one particular product is your pharmaceuticals, your formulations which are importing from. Now, China, we are our medical, our medicines are cheaper today thanks to a lot of cheaper imports coming in from China. Now, if you're going to stop that, it's going to have an impact on our very basic economic currently today without a replaceable product going in. And then another major thing is which is happening at the foreign policy level, which is going to be a concern from India's perspective is, you must have heard about RCEP. RCEP is your regional comprehensive economic package, which the Chinese had, in fact, it is promoted by Chinese for the Asian countries, all the ASEAN countries, about 10 countries are there, your Thailand, Malaysia and all these countries, which promoted with another, they wanted 5 more countries to join, that is China, Japan, South Korea, they want India, Australia, New Zealand to join. Now, India went up to that point, so totally 16 countries, they wanted to have an economic package which would have had something like around 33% to 40% of the global GDP in terms of the business itself on this side of the Pacific. So they wanted to give it a run to the economy of the US government, saying that, okay, we are a very, very strong force and we are going to have multilateral programs and all that stuff. Now, India was supposed to be a signatory. We did agree to look at that, and sometime in last October, November, Prime Minister Modi had gone to Thailand and then he walked out. He said that no, currently now we won't do it because the whole thing is Chinese centric in terms of Chinese side. Because our concern there was that there are two things. This is not transparent about there was no, we have a big skill set. So our concern for India was that two things are going to happen. We were insisting that the country of origin should be properly declared. Otherwise, what would have happened is China would have dumped cheap products into India at the cost of our Indian economy by sending to these ASEAN countries which are fully dependent on them and show that it is locally manufactured and done, and we would have had a major problem. And the other thing is, which they were not willing to include, which India was wanting to do, is we have a huge manpower. So they said that the manpower aspect also has to be taken care of, and you should allow free movement of people from India to the other countries, with all the ASEAN countries. So these are the 2 points which we have currently kept it on hold. So we have not signed up that. Now going forward in the next 1 year, how it is going to, because Australia, what has happened in the past 6 months, Australia's stance has completely changed now. It has become more anti-China. So these are the global factors which are going to impact our economy at some point of time, which is in the near future time. So how we are going to react to it and how our economy is going to revive is challenges which we need to see. And finally, the entire revival will happen if as a country, how we handle the pandemic. Because currently today you see it's really quixotic. I'm sorry to say, but it's really quixotic. Each state has its own policies. Even though the state, the national government, what they did lockdown and afterwards they opened up. Now it's all on their own. Whatever each one wants to do is doing there. Suddenly a state goes on lockdown for no reason. They're clueless. As Paul was saying, I'm very happy that Tamil Nadu, of all the states, today we are #1 in testing, and we are doing this testing process. So naturally our numbers look large compared to the various other states. So this is what is my take on this. I think I will leave it with this, Vijay. Probably I would have crossed my time. I don't know.
No. Thank you. Thank you, Prakash, for that. First of all, for that very comprehensive coverage of industry and business. I mean, it's not easy. You deserve one whole slot, 45 minutes, maybe a panel discussion. But
15 minutes,
this is
10,
a
15
good
minutes, a
start.
little tough, yeah.
Vijay,
The other point, Balajee,
Vijay,
can you
Vijay, one point I want to add to what Prakash has forgotten to say in the banking side. You see, the Reserve Bank of India has instituted National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company, which actually ultimately approves the fiscal stimulus for all the client. The client has got approved from the bank will send it to the NCGCTC and Reserve Bank of India for approval. Till June 6th, all this approval is automatic to get it to the client in 24 hours time. After June 26th, the approvals are getting delayed because the government is not very keen to disburse this fiscal stimulus. That's one of the reasons banks have got abundant funds. What SBI example Prakash gave is absolutely true in all sense.
Thank you, Balajee.
Balajee, to cover that, I just want to tell that sometime on January 1st, 2nd week, Government of India came out with a AIF scheme, alternate investment funding scheme for stressed real estate. They said that 25,000 crores we are allocating, 10,000 crores Government of India will give, 15,000 crores LIC or Government of or SBI and others will fund. You'll be surprised today, even after 7 months, how many projects have been grounded in that, and what is the amount disbursed is shocking. One project got grounded and only about 220 crores has been funded. 7 months. So all this is between you and me is real nonsense. I mean, you say something, but on the ground level, nothing happens.
Nothing is happening, yes.
So,
thank you.
Christie.
Right,
welcome back, Christie.
Thank you, Prakash. I'm now going to invite Christie to deliver his address, which he would have done at the start. It's not a technical glitch. Before I allow Christie to speak, I want everyone to know that he came back to India from UK in the first week of March, and he has been enjoying the complete lockdown phase, either enjoying or enduring, you have to ask him, from then till now, and then also offering essential services through his company, Red Sky. So Christie, is all over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I won't go into all the excuses of why we are starting in this manner, but I want all of you to know that this is not just the 100th meeting, but it's also 10 years since we started BBG in June of 2011. We actually got it all started in 2010, but the BBG itself was established in 2011. We've had meetings almost every month, and we've still have the same activities. We have speakers, people join us for meetings both at hotels as well as at clubs and places like that. We've had charities which we support. I think there are about 7 or 8 charities, but the main ones in it are Joss Brooks, our Eco Warrior, grows trees and creates water bodies. HelpAge India, which is actually a UK charity, does a lot of support for older people who don't have any relations or any other form of support. The Ex-Services Association is the other one which we have been continuing with for almost about 10 years now. Mr. Beliappa gets our support for the work he does in Teach the Teachers schemes with British Council. We've also helped American International School with their programs, as the High Commission used to send the children of some of the officers to the American National School. And one of the other charities was Hand in Hand. So we continue with the charities because we ourselves are a charity, the British Business Group. We've done heritage walks. We've had some activities with BDHC. I shan't dwell on this because Paul and I have thought we should work through it, create a proper plan before we come out with a policy on how we should do our work, both with BDHC as well as DIT. That's for another occasion. I'd like to actually speak today also about the arrival of the new High Commissioner in Delhi, Sir Philip Barton. He has officially called on the president, and he has actually put out, I think it came out on the 19th of July, the deepening bonds between India and the UK. I don't think very much has changed between India and UK. And while on the one hand, there are more companies from India investing and working in the UK, the reverse direction has been that companies who are already established here are continuing to do things like Unilever and some of the banks, Standard Chartered included. We would like to see more UK businessmen coming out to India. It is not an easy place to work, and whatever the government says about ease of doing business, I must, just like Prakash is saying, I must express my disappointment that no matter what the ranking is, the actual things on the ground are very, very different, and it hasn't come very far. It's going to take a very long time before things get better on the ease of doing business. And I think this worries people that you come here, you set up a company. I'm handling the affairs of one of our friends, Mike Freeman. He closed up and went away in 2012. We still haven't been able to close the company. We still, I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but they have to actually put, they have to actually file accounts with the police. They also have to file accounts with the banks, and they have to file accounts with the tax authorities. So all this has been done for the last several years, and still, after all that, it has not been possible to close the company. That is as difficult as it is to do business in India. So forget about what the government is talking about, because the government doesn't know how to do business. Okay? Now, we are hoping that we can still encourage people to come here to India, and we are hoping that more British people would like to actually come and take advantage of some of the developments that are happening. And following this COVID period, I mean, maybe it is going to be around for a long time, but I think businessmen don't wait for all that. We've been carrying on working. I mean, all of you are aware, I've been here and my business has continued to work. 300 of my people are still working in 3 different hospitals, except for corporate places here in Chennai. My other work is still continuing. The same has happened for Sam Howden. His company prepared itself much, much earlier as part of its sort of continuation plan. And they've continued to work through this whole period. So businessmen will not stop at some of these things, and I'm hoping that that will still continue. So the new High Commissioner plans that he would like to actually see some more things happening. He's expecting that more companies, UK's second largest source of investment is in India, 22 billion, some 420,000 jobs have been created here. And I know that 850 or 900 Indian companies operate in the UK. One of the few items that I always cover for all of you is that I have read almost about 20 books in the last 4 months. And among them, one of the books which I would recommend very, very much is Jules Verne. You may have read his 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days. I read these books again after 50 years or something like that. And I must tell you, they were as interesting as ever. One of the other ladies whom I've been reading for many, many years is Daphne du Maurier. Her famous book is Rebecca, but I still regard that another book called Scapegoat is really one of her best writings. So I'd recommend that to you. William Dalrymple wrote The Return of the King, which was the very first and most disastrous military venture by the East India Company, actually, going into Afghanistan, 1839 to 1844. Absolutely disastrous, trying to do this regime change. The Americans thought they were the big ones of regime change, but the Brits are doing that for a long time. They tried to actually get a king to come back and replace somebody they didn't want. And of course, what happened is that guy was killed, and finally the king that they replaced came back. So those are a few books for you. Thank you very much for this attendance of our 100th meeting. We've had speakers. We try to bring new membership. We try to do lots of other things here. I have this experience of having been on the board of a club in London. Some of you have come and been my guest there at the Royal Overseas League in Piccadilly, 110 years old. When I was on the board of that club, I attended the 800th Executive Committee meeting in 2008. So these are quite momentous occasions, and I am sorry we can't make this such a momentous occasion, but I'm very happy that we've got here, I think, almost close to 50 members and guests who joined us for this special meeting. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Christie. Good to see that you made it despite the technical glitch. It's a good sign that we can persist and move ahead. I'm now going to invite our guest speaker. We have a guest speaker this evening, Dr. E.S. Krishnamurthy, very renowned neuropsychiatrist. He's been waiting very patiently, asking me a couple of times, when should I come in? Because we have not gone according to the timing and the format that we had initially set up. But I told him this is how it is working out in eSpace. So first of all, I want to find out whether Dr. Krishnamurthy is there. Are you there, sir?
Very much so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'll do you the honors of introducing you first. Dr. Krishnamurthy is a very celebrated neuropsychiatrist. It sounds like a very clunky word, but when you listen to him, you probably will understand better what exactly he does. He deals with the human mind and all the problems and the challenges associated with whatever goes in the mind and how it impacts the rest of the body. So in a nutshell, Dr. E.S. Krishnamurthy has a long link with the UK as well. He is FRCP with London, Edinburgh, and Glasgow. He also did his doctorate at, I think, London, University College London. He may tell you if I'm wrong. Earned a doctorate there and surely would have practiced there as well. He's also a frequent speaker and panelist with a lot of business groups and other organizations. So I'm very happy. We've been wanting to get him earlier for our regular meetings, but was not able to as he was frequently traveling. COVID-19 has gotten people like him grounded. So without any further delay, I would like to invite Dr. E.S. Krishnamurthy to address us. Sir, it's all yours.
Thank you, Vijay, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here at your 100th meeting. Congratulations on that milestone. It's not often that organizations manage to do 100 meetings in 10 years. Vijay wanted me to talk to you about, emotional health, especially given that the time of COVID is challenging all of us. And that's what I will proceed to do. If now, okay, I'm just trying to get. Oops. Okay, I have a technical glitch here. Can I get Vikas, someone to help me?
Yeah,
I need
right
to
here.
share screen, but
Yeah, there's a green button at the middle called share screen.
I know it says share content. It's a green button. Okay, hang on.
Yes.
It says screen recording, which is what we don't want to do, isn't it?
Now, if you click on the green button, share screen, then you can
Share
share
screen,
your
you can
presentation.
share.